The paint's barely dried on our Stargrave cruise, and there's already a new supplement coming, adding exciting extras to the already rather popular sci-fi skirmish game that was released in mid-2021. Quarantine 37 is a 96-page, full-colour book that takes your initially galaxy-spanning gaming to a far more singular location, Imperial Research Station 37. This was formerly a hive of activity holding 10,000 scientists and researchers, but it's now abandoned and dangerous, with all kinds of plague-infected dangers and gribbly bugs inside. So, let's don our spacesuits, put on a mask, pack a good supply of hand sanitiser, and go plunder some technology. In author Joseph A. McCulloch's introduction, he describes how Quarantine 37 puts Stargrave's focus onto sci-fi horror, a topic that we think is really well suited to skirmish-level gaming. He was unable to decide between the unrelenting hordes of plague zombies and the deadly alien bugs, so he's decided that Station 37 has more than enough room for both. Each option gets its own mini-campaign and, thanks to the very divergent types of antagonists involved, these each have a really distinct feel. As well as the scenarios that make up the new campaigns, there are also new crew options with extra backgrounds, powers, soldiers and rules, and some simple rules for solo play, which include a full solo campaign, and there's a few other little bits. The book's first chapter has 2 new backgrounds to add to the existing ones in Stargrave. Aristocrats are wealthy individuals who, as well as having their own stat modifications and core powers, provide financial benefits to your starting crew. An aristocrat captain lets you pick a free ship upgrade, and they also provide an extra 50 credits when you start building your crew. If you make a first mate an aristocrat, that'll gift you 50 credits too, and that could mean that you start off with a hefty 500 credits to start building your crew. Hunters are far more attuned to the creatures of the galaxy. They search out live animals to sell or kill, and harvest them for various pelts, scales, venom sacs and whatnot. And if you choose a hunter as your background, either for your captain or your first mate, you'll get some exciting new core power options. And there are 8 of those new core powers in total. Hunter players get Beast Core, which looks like a whole lot of fun. It allows you to roll on the random encounter table and then place that model on a table edge. Should you decide to combine that with the Control Animal power, which you can find in the main Stargrave rules, you can essentially summon a beast and then control it to ruin your opponent's day. Aristocrats get some new stuff too. They could use contacts to increase the amount of advanced technology that's available to them, or they can simply use investments, which is a way to gain 50 credits out of each game. Because of that, and obviously the extra crew starting credits, we can really see that aristocrat crews might have a bit of a snowball potential in your campaigns once you've started to spend their ill-gotten gains. Perhaps you'll use the extra credits to treat yourself to some of the new soldier options. There are gunfighters who can dual wield, and that means they can deal out some pretty serious damage. There are robot mules, which are far more about carrying. They have 4 gear slots, can haul loot around with no penalties, and perhaps most interestingly, they can pass gear on to nearby friendly figures or take bits off them. Q-bots are kind of designed to obtain loot, and then there's the Ravage, who are scarred survivors of Hastian's plague, and these guys, they don't really feel pain, but they look pretty brutalized. What is Hastian's plague? Well, it's the Z disease that's spreading through the galaxy, eating away hosts' brains and reducing the victims to violent, mostly mindless husks. So that's zombies, basically. And the book has some optional infection rules, which will bring potential zombification to your own crew in a very entertaining way. Any crew member who's taken damage from a creature with the zombie infection attribute in a previous game is at risk. Your opponent can pick one of these crew members at any point in the game, and if they fail a will roll, they'll be replaced by a plague zombie. We like this because it means that your best laid plans can go completely awry, as the model that's kind of key to your strategy has the potential to suddenly become an uncontrolled creature in the midst of your crew, and that's up to your opponent. There's also a reanimation optional rule, and that can bring the dead back as a plague zombie. The final new rule is pings, and these represent the tension that increasing pulses provide when using a motion tracker, as in some of the best sci-fi horror films out there. Pings are represented by tokens, and when they move into contact with a crew member, those tokens get revealed, and you'll roll on the ping table, which will generally launch something fairly horrible your way. This mechanic brings some tension to the strike from the shadow scenarios that are found in the book's alien-esque campaign. A ping could be a meagre worker bug, but if you're unlucky, 3 warrior bugs could come in and decimate your crew. Chapter 3 is the first of 2 competitive mini-campaigns in the book, in which up to 4 crews can participate. This one's zombie themed, and it's made up of a group of 4 scenarios, which will work a lot better if you ditch the game's standard playing areas and instead build a dungeon-esque setup of interconnecting rooms and corridors. This makes for really tense stuff, beginning in a medical lab with pods that spawn zombies out into the battle, moving through the station, dealing with damaged, dangerous conduits that can send out radiation, power spikes and explosions, and then finishing in the cargo bay as you attempt to escape in shuttles, but you have to first fight your way through a fluctuating containment field. Now, Mr. McCulloch has a really good knack for mixing cool narrative along with some nice little extra gaming function, and this final battle is a great example of that, that's full of tension and, hopefully, your eventual triumphant escape. Deeper into the station, the second campaign is all about those aforementioned pings and the bugs that they represent. The first scenario, hydroponics, has a smart mechanic that will bring terrors down onto the tabletop. Basically, whoever loses the initiative roll each turn then cross-references their roll with a table. And should the roll be low, you'll encounter something relatively safe. That might be a bug being placed or a ping being placed. But if you're unlucky enough to lose the initiative with a really high roll, well, the shadows hide some pretty horrible horrors. The scenarios here are kind of an action romp, think Aliens, I guess. From the flooding hydroponics chamber, and then you get onto a train, the train gets out of control and crashes, and then there's a climactic... Well, I don't want to spoil the fun too much, but we greatly enjoyed the progression and the escalation of this one. There's usually a whole lot of space needed to describe how games successfully, or in quite a lot of cases unsuccessfully, translate their rules to solo play. Not so with Stargrave in this expansion. Things are kept really quite basic for the solo play rules, and the introductory paragraph suggests that your gaming will require, and I quote Joe here, a lot of player creativity. I can't help but feel that that's maybe game designer talk for, these are more guidelines than anything else, just make the best of it. And honestly, that's no bad thing. It puts the agency in the player's hands and leaves the fun up to you. Quarantine 37 solo gaming is focused completely on player versus environment as well, so that means that you're focused on working through the campaign that's provided. You build a standard crew, only half of them will get used in the first 2 scenarios, so you can learn the nuances of solo play. You'll have to avoid some powers because they're redundant in solo play, and you still use loot as a simple way to determine your victory. The turn sequence is altered, with the creature phase landing between the captain and first mate phase. This makes the monsters far more dangerous, and it's a simple tweak that works really well. The solo campaign itself is called Back to the Ship, and it's big on drama, taking your crew through some cool set-piece actions that actually work very well when playing on your own. It's never going to be quite as much fun as pitting your wits against another human, but if you're all lonely and you want to roll some dice and push some minis around, why not give it a go? There's also a suggestion that you could play these solo games cooperatively, and we quite like that idea. We might actually have a go at it. The book ends with 20 new advanced technology options and a bestiary of bugs and zombies that dwell on Station 37. These have various unique attributes, from acid spew to self-immolation, and they're pretty intriguing and fun. They really tie in with the other mechanics and the scenarios in the book. Add in some varied and vibrant art, some good-looking photos of North Star figures, and you've got a great new Stargrave book, expanding on the universe and bringing some really tight, constrained gameplay to your tabletop.
This video has been brought to you by WI Prime, Wargames Illustrated magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WI Prime by following these links.